Hello, B1 family, and welcome back to the YouTube channel, The Big Black American Secret. My name is Daniel Jackson, and today I want to give an update on, an update in the battle that we have against the system of racism, white supremacy. Before I get into that, I want to read the goal of this channel. The goal of this channel is to build an unstoppable army of knowledgeable, black, melanated people in America and around the world that understand that we as melanated people have one enemy worldwide, and that enemy is a system of racism, white supremacy. Our mission through education is to replace this evil system with a system of freedom, justice, and equality as laid out by Dr. Frances Cress Welsing. We will need your help in building this knowledgeable army. You can help by subscribing to this channel, by donating to this cause through Cash App or PayPal, and by sharing the videos you watch here and any knowledge that is shared. In doing so, together we help fertilize the mentally enslaved, colonized minds of black, melanated people worldwide, creating the perfect mental conditions for our children to grow up in a better, more balanced world. Today I was doing some research. Well, actually, yesterday I was doing some research, and I learned, that, in my videos, I share with my people a lot about the definition of American in the year 1828. Almost all of my videos I share that information because it's 100% proof positive. 100% proof positive of your identity. You are an Aboriginal American. In fact, this channel is called The Big Black American Secret. The secret is you are not the descendants of West African slaves. You are, in fact, an Aboriginal American. Now, what they've done recently is they've pulled that Webster's Noah Dictionary off of the internet, right? If you try to Google it, it won't come up. And that is a huge plus for you and me. Why so? They've taken away information, right? That's bad. Well, it's good for us because it's proof that information is true, number one, and very hurtful, harmful to the system of racism, white supremacy. If it wasn't harmful to them, they wouldn't have touched it. Why would they care? See what I'm saying? So that's a huge blow to the system of racism, white supremacy. Now, I've saved that definition on a PDF. Now, and you could also buy a copy of the definition. You get a hardback or softback starting like I call Barnes and Noble, like $45, $44. And they'll order it for you, and you can pick it up. Or you can go online and order it, and they'll send it to your house. To me, this is great because this is proof of who you are. The system of racism, white supremacy cannot stand up to the truth. When you shine the spotlight, the bright light of the truth on it, it dissolves. So what they have to do, they go into to the mode of hiding things. That's why these white folks can't stand the critical race theory. All critical race theory is simply just history. It's history of America. You know what I'm saying? The only history they won't taught is what they can control. You know what I'm saying? So I'm very excited about that. Now I want you all to find a way to save a copy on like on a little computer disk or something. Anything you think is valuable to you, you save it. Because these people, that's what they do. They hide information. The reason you never knew that you was the reason you thought you was the descendants of West African slaves, because they told you this in a bunch of different ways. Through television programming, cartoons, movies. They would force feed us images of the Mongolian breed of Asian. They'd help people like, what's his name? The author, Alex Haley, produce a movie called Roots to convince us that we're descendants of West African slaves. And they did this to steal our very American identity. You know what I'm saying? I was reading one of my comments, I think it was today, and one person was saying, hey, I got proof we're West African slaves. My people, we still have some traditions or dances or traditions just like some people in West Africa. What that young person don't understand is the slave trade was told to us in reverse. Peace to Dane Calloway for bringing that information out a few years. And upon further investigation, which is what I did, I took a deep dive into Indian slavery here in the United States. Indian slavery started in 1492 with Christopher Columbus. In 1943, a few months later, the Pope declared, he made a decree, stamped a decree, that's a declaration of war, stating basically that any indigenous American who did not take on the Christian religion was subject to rape, murder, enslavement. You understand what I'm saying? So that was justification for them to enslave our people. So when they came here and came in contact with the Aboriginal Americans, the indigenous Americans, they started enslaving them. Had them working in the gold mines, looking for gold, treating them harshly, taking our people from here to Sierra Leone, West Africa. See what I'm saying? So that young person, people actually were taken from America to West Africa. He don't know that, of course. And most of these people believe this thing because, one, we've been taught to believe it. Two, they believe firmly in DNA, and you cannot stand firmly on DNA. DNA is scientific racism. They give us DNA to further tell us who we are. You cannot compare living humans' DNA to dry bones. I've said this in a bunch of my videos. Dry bones, for one, don't hold DNA information that long. And two, when they compare your DNA on those ancestry sites, they're comparing your DNA to a Mongolian breed of Asian, which they call the Indian. Those folks are foreigners. They came here from Asia. They crossed the land bridge called the Bering Straits. Paleontologists say about 12, 13,000 years ago. So they're not from here. You see what I'm saying? So you cannot lean on DNA for proof of who you are. Talk to your oldest living relatives. Do your own paper documents. Go back in your paper documents, birth certificates, marriage licenses, union cards, church records. It's called genealogy. So because they've taken down the definition of 1828, the Webster's Noah's Dictionary definition of 1828 definition, I'm going to go over it again in this video because it's so important. People, you are an ancient group of people. You are an Aboriginal American. The dirt under your feet belong to you. And this North America, which is Canada, you got Canada, North America, South America, and the Caribbean islands. All of that was considered the Americas. You understand what I'm saying? So of course, we were all colonized. Canada was, I think, taken on by the French. North America, England. South America, Spain. The Caribbean islands, Europe. You know what I'm saying? So, but all of that landmass belongs to us. So the reason we were given the out of Africa theory by a racist guy named Frank, what's his name? France. I may have taken it down. I did a Google search on who created the out of Africa theory. What popped up on the screen here, and I'll turn it around and show it to you. This fellow named France Wiedenrich. You understand? This guy created the out of Africa theory. And this guy is a racist. You know what I mean? He's a white supremacist. So, of course, these folks are going to tell you or show you using their science and DNA and all the other bull crap that they can come up with to tell you you are an inferior being. That keeps them in a superior position. When in fact, the truth is, the black man and woman are the mothers and fathers of civilization. The Caucasian race, the Mongolian breed of Asian race of people. I'm saying race, but you'll just follow what I'm saying. Those people were allowed to multiply and grow during the Ice Age. They are simply, what is the word? Albionized. They are albionized us. What am I saying? Two blue black people can give birth to an albino baby. Hell, you probably got a couple of albinos been born in your relative lines. And it seems most of the albinos come from Africa. I could be wrong about that. You know, Americans might actually give birth to albinos. I don't really know. But you know, albino, okay, how can I put this? The sun gives melanated people energy, strength, healing, health, vitamins such as vitamin D. You know, we thrive in the sun. But any child born with albinism will not last long. That child will die from skin cancer and a whole host of other problems. You understand what I'm saying? So during the Ice Age, that 10,000, 12,000 year period, in a small area of Europe and Asia, there was an overcast. The sun wasn't getting down to the ground like it, you know, normally is. So any of those people in that area who was giving birth to albinos, those albinos were given a chance to thrive and grow. And over a 10, 12,000 year period, you know, their features like we have, broad noses, would become longer and slender to allow cold air to warm up before it get to the brain. Hair that was bushy, which allowed heat to rise off your body, would start to lay down to keep the heat on your body. You understand what I'm saying? These things. So, but again, if you believe in the out of Africa theory, long story short, if you fail to educate yourself, you are, without you even knowing it, you are a white supremacist. You, a melanated person, are a white supremacist because you are believing a lie, the lie of white supremacy, without even knowing it, because you simply trust the information you was forced to believe. It is now time for you to come out of that. The bottom line truth of the matter is they won't. Well, here's the theory. Here's the out of Africa theory, just so me and you on the same page. They found the jawbone of a Homo sapien in Ethiopia dating back 2.8 million years, right? And a Homo sapien ain't really human. It's a Homo sapien. It's like a monkey. You know what I'm saying? So that's another form of, they're saying you evolved from an ape. If you're a black African, you evolved from an ape. And that's just not the truth. I mean, it's not the case. Humans did not evolve from monkeys or apes or any of that. Humans are a distinct mammal group, all about themselves. See, a cat will not turn into a lion over millions of years, or vice versa. A wolf will not transform into a dog. This is what they want us to believe, that, you know, mammals evolve into something else. No. On a molecular structure, cats are different from lions. Monkeys are different from humans. An orange is different from a fucking apple. You know what I'm saying? So down in our molecular structure, we're different. We're, of course, part of the mammal family, but we ain't evolved from no monkeys. You see what I'm saying? But again, the out of Africa theory wants you, black man, wants you, black woman, to think Africa is the cradle of civilization, when the fact and matter is all mammal life started on every continent in about the same time. You know, in fact, most of the vegetation that people enjoy around the world, and is out of 600 some food categories or crops, of the 600 and something, let's say 650, I don't know the exact number, 600 are from America that people eat all over the world, like Africa. Of the 650, 600 of them are from America, which tells you that America actually is old, or is as old or older than Africa. So there is no cradle of civilization. You understand? Life sprung up on this planet in and about the same time, just like plant life. See, before you have mammal life, you have to have plant life, because mammals have to come later to eat the plants. You know, we have to step away from the indoctrination and education, because that's all the education system is. It's indoctrinating you to believe a certain group of things. In effect, turning every person into a white supremacist. What am I saying? It's the goal of education is to put you in the mindset, black man and woman, that white people are up here and you are down here. If you continue believing in them lies, you are in fact a white supremacist, and you're going to teach your children to be white supremacists. You can't do that. Again, the black man and woman are the mothers and fathers of civilization because we are melanated. The sun gives us strength, energy, and vitamins. It gives cancer to those without melanin. Basic biology. Do you understand? So in Europe, during that 10, 12,000 year period, the Caucasians and the Asians, ones born without melanin, the melanated Aboriginal people of those areas, those albino that were being born was allowed to thrive and grow. They became the Caucasians. They became the Mongolian breed of Asian. You understand what I'm saying? So now I'm going to take a minute and show you who you are, black man and woman, okay? I'm going to pull up the definition of American in the year 1828. Give me 1 second. I almost forgot which disc I had it saved on. Which, not disc, I'm old school. Which drive I had it saved on. No, it's not that one. I think it's this one. Okay, yeah, there we go. And again, I want y'all to do the same. Save any information that you can, because these people they're in hide mode. They're starting to hide information. You know what I'm saying? These people they stay in control by doing these things. But we hot on their asses. And I'm proud and I'm glad about that. So I'm gonna turn this phone around. But before I do, I'm gonna ask you a question. That's a 1 cent copper penny. Would you say that this penny, but that's a little darker than I am. Let me get another one. That's pretty. There's a lot of light on that thing, but they all pretty dark. But anyway, I'm gonna end with this one because you get the point. It's a 1 cent copper penny, and it's about the same color as my complexion. Oh, that one's pretty close. So this is a copper penny, and it's damn identical to the color of the back of my hand. Why is that important? Well, I'm going to turn this phone around and show you why it's important. Okay. Now, what are you seeing here is this part here comes from the dictionary, the 1828 Noah's Webster's Dictionary. That's an insert. Up here, what you're seeing is somebody put this here. More than likely this sister right here. But, because this is actually copyright written, smart lady, because she knew they was going to steal it. But what it's asking you is a subliminal question. It says, does this copper penny compare more to this person's skin color, who is D from back in the day? What was that show? What's Happening? Yeah, that's a little D from What's Happening. Or this person's skin color, who looks like to be the child of a Mongolian breed of Asian, perhaps Eskimo, but got a feather in the hair like like an Indian. Okay, so again, this section here is actually down here. So what I'm gonna do, if I can, we'll make this a little bigger, but I ain't gotta make it big. I just read it. It says, and again, this is the 1828 definition of America from the Noah's Webster's Dictionary. It says American, a native of America, originally applied to the Aboriginal or copper-colored races founded by the Europeans, but now applied to the descendants of Europeans born in America. So what this definition is telling you in plain English is that the people who visited this continent hundreds of years, maybe thousands of years, gave a description of the people they saw. They saw copper-colored people. These were your Aboriginal people. They were copper-colored. It was a brown color, right? And also what this definition is telling you is that your identity is being stolen by the European, because it says American, but now applies to the descendants of Europeans born in America. This is a powerful definition. Powerful definition. Now, So and again, the Europeans have been stealing our identity. So when I first started to say these things, you were probably thinking, well, the Indians, the Mongolian breed, woo, are stealing our identity. No, no. Those people were put into the history books, heavily advertised to us by cartoons, movies, shows, literature, textbooks, and even shows like The Lone Ranger back in the day. They show us these images of those type of uh, people as Indians, when in fact they're not. They're not native to this continent. They're not indigenous to this continent. They come from Asia. They crossed the Bering Straits about 10, 12,000 years. That's what leading paleontologists. If you get a chance, look at your 2020 census. In the section where it says American Indian, at the very bottom it says Eskimo community. These people are Eskimos. And the Eskimos was a small minority tribe that normally hung out in the northern part up there near Canada. You understand what I'm saying? But the Aboriginal brown-skinned, we occupied every part of the continent, the cold area and the hot area. You understand what I'm saying? We don't look the way we look because during slavery, we were, there was a lot of slave masters raping slaves. That's the story they give us. Why we don't look so much like Africans, because all the raping. No, we've always looked like this. We are Aboriginal Americans. It says so right in that definition from 1828. You see how you've been played with and misdirected? You understand what I'm saying? The goal of this channel is to help you learn who you are. And again, you're joining an unstoppable army of knowledgeable, melanated black people who are going to end the system of racism, white supremacy, and replace it with a system of freedom, justice, and equality. Dr. Frances Cress Welson's video will be in the description. What Dr. Frances Cress Welson does is what she did before she left this, before she transitioned, is she broke down the system of racism, white supremacy. She's a psychiatrist, and she did her job. You understand what I'm saying? I wish she was still here with us, but she helps us understand the system of racism, white supremacy as it affects black melanated people. Okay, so the Mongolian breed of Asian is not Aboriginal. It's not indigenous to this landmass. See, they are used to help steal our identity. The European has been trying to steal our very American identity, along with our land, labor, and resources. Okay, labor, of course, is slavery, and that slavery hasn't ended. Slavery is simply employment, either unpaid labor or very cheap labor. All of that is considered slavery. This is our landmass. On this landmass, we are, what's the word? Sovereign. We are sovereign on our landmass. Right now, we're prisoners of war, misclassified as West African slaves. Any money generated on our land should be controlled by us. The United States of America is an illegal corporation. It's a company formed in the 1800s that, again, have been stealing our very American identity. And it's a damn shame. But, the games are up. We're all waking up to the facts. And you simply need to talk to your oldest living relatives. Don't just speak to one of them. Talk to all of them, because they all probably have bits and pieces of information or none at all. And I'll simply tell you how I know this. When I was digging into this information, like I told you, a bug was dropped in my ear a couple of years ago. And the guy told me, it's a perfect stranger, we was at a swap meet. He was set up next to us. Me and my wife were selling some stuff we didn't need no more. And he said that you should listen to a fellow named Dane Calloway. He talks a lot about interesting stuff. So just a couple of weeks later, I saw the name Dane Calloway. I clicked on it, and I was like, wow. So I learned that the transatlantic slave trade was told to us in reverse, along with some other stuff that this guy has researched. And this guy is what do he call himself? He's a researcher. I think is some kind of graphic researcher. He actually goes and finds documents all over the place, physical documents, because you cannot do deep research on Wikipedia or Google. You know what I'm saying? I stand on his shoulders because he's done a lot of the research and other people's research. It makes it easier for people like you and me to come behind us, and then we add little bits of information that we find out. I'm gonna give you an example. My personal story, which I had no idea about until just recently. So again, once I learned what he was talking about, and then I started doing some other research, and I learned about Indian slavery. Yeah, the first slavery in the Americas was Indian slavery. Christopher Columbus came here in 1492, started enslaving the Aboriginal indigenous people here to mine the gold, till land, sending slaves to Sierra Leone, West Africa, Spain, Portugal. It was told to us in reverse. You see, peace to Dane Calloway. That slave trade was called the International Indigenous American Slave Trade. And if I ain't mistaken, I think they took that definition too. But you know what? While I got y'all on the, I'm gonna see if I could find a little bit of that definition if it ain't been completely stolen. I mean taken down. And I'm glad I thought about this just now, because International Indigenous American Slave Trade. I know a few weeks ago when I was researching this, they buried it, you know, because it used to pop up on the first screen. You know what I'm saying? And like I said, the last time I researched it, it was hidden pretty good. And okay, I think I might have found something. Okay, so I'm gonna turn this around. Okay, and of course I Googled the International Indigenous American Slave Trade, and buried inside this thing here, it says it's gonna tell you something. I'm gonna have to translate a little bit. Yeah. Okay. Yeah, it don't say it anymore, but it does say that the okay, it says contact with Europeans transformed these practices, and they talk about slavery, as the Spanish introduced chattel slavery through warfare and the co-op of existing systems. Other European powers followed suit. Followed suit in what? Slavery of the Aboriginal indigenous people. And from the 15th to the 19th century, and the 15th century is the 1400s, and the 19th century is the 1800s. So from 1492 to the 1800s, between 2 and 5 million indigenous people were enslaved, which had a devastating impact on many indigenous societies, contributing to the overwhelming population decline of indigenous people in America. Now, the population wasn't declined, it was displaced. Again, they took some of our people to Europe, some people to West Africa, and then they switched us around here on the continent. But they always tell us this part, you know, decline in population. Like we just died off, like they tell us about them blankets with smallpox on them or whatever they had on them, you know, which they probably did do that. But again, they didn't kill us off, is what I'm trying to plant in your brain. Slavery happened to our people. You see what I'm saying? Now, what should have instantly popped in your brain is you never heard of no Indians, woo, slanty ass being enslaved. That's because they wasn't enslaved. We were enslaved. We look African. You understand what I'm saying? People, it's so much for you to learn. I do teach. Check out my, in the description, you can find out how you can learn about that. Also, like this video, subscribe to the channel, hit the bell and hit all so that you're notified when I go live or make another video. It's just amazing the amount of brainwashing that took place. But I'm excited again because, you know, they be hiding stuff and taking stuff from us that we could continue to, but it's going to take people like you and me to get into this. So let me get back to what I was telling you about. Talk to your oldest living relatives, because this is where You take information you learn from people like Dane Calloway, Kurimio Aha, and then when you start to talk to your own relatives or digging into your own family line, the pieces come together even more. What I learned was absolutely incredible. I learned that my grandmother, my mother's mother, Sioux Indian, my grandfather, Blackfoot Indian. I grew up with these people. I saw them every day of their lives. They just look like regular old black folks to me. Nobody ever mentioned Indian or nothing. Let me tell you why. So here's what I did. Somebody put a bug in my ear that I should talk to my oldest living relatives. And so one day I started calling. I called my uncle who recently transitioned. He died last year. Peace to him. And I was talking to him. I said, "Hey, Uncle, how you doing? I know I haven't talked to you in a long time, and I just want to call you, hear your voice, and tell you I love you." He said, "Thank you, nephew." He said, "So, what's going on? What's going on with it?" I said, "Well, I just want to learn about our heritage. My mother's done passed, and grandmama and granddaddy gone, and so I want to reach out to you and talk to you. Find out where'd you grow up, how many brothers and sisters you have." So you ease into these conversations because these people have been traumatized. Slavery, there was a thing in 1940. Let me get this right because I want to be as factual as possible. There was a thing called the Racial Integrity Act. These racists put laws in place to protect whiteness. So the Racial Integrity Act, okay, it's right here, 1924. Okay, the Racial Integrity Act. I'm going to click on it, see if I can read a little bit of it. Racial integrity laws were passed by the General Assembly to protect whiteness against what many Virginians perceive to be the negative effects of race mixing. Now, under this Racial Integrity Act or law, black people who claimed, or black-skinned people who claimed to be Indian could be jailed, murdered, or whipped. You understand? So, talking to my uncle, he was the youngest, and so he told me a whole bunch of interesting stuff. He had some trade schooling. He bought his mother and father's first television or refrigerator or something like that, and he was real proud of that. He told me some stuff about him meeting his wife, and he was very proud of that, and he was glad to talk to me. But, after that, like I said, I eased into the conversation. And I asked him, I said, "Had you heard about any Indian heritage in our family line?" He said, "No, nephew, I hadn't heard anything about Indian heritage." And I said, "Okay, that's good." But I learned a whole bunch of other stuff, and I wrote everything down, all his brothers and sisters' names and stuff like that, school he went to and area they grew up in. So, okay, so I talked to the next relative who was up age-wise, up from him a little bit. And she said, "No, nephew, I don't know anything about Indian heritage, but my older sister talks about it quite a bit." She said, "You should give her a call." So I didn't call her right away. I called my next relative, was the oldest living relative, and he's still alive at the time. He's still alive now. And boy, I tell you, like I said, I eased into the conversation with him, and I got to the question. He said, "Yeah, absolutely, nephew." That's when he told. That's why he said that your grandmother's Sioux Indian. Your grandfather's Blackfoot Indian. And he said, we also have Irish and German heritage as well. He said, we like mixed up like mutts, with everything. And I thought that was real interesting. Like, whoa, that was blowing my mind. So I think I waited for probably about a week because I was adjusting, and I called my other auntie. And man, she laid out a whole bunch of other stuff. She even told me the name of the reservation they spent time on when she was real little. You understand what I'm saying? So, after she told me all that, and it took me a minute to adjust. To let all that soak in. So about a week too late, I called her back, and I said, "Well, Auntie, I'm a little confused. How is it that you and your older brother know about all of this, but your younger brothers and sisters don't? I'm confused." And she said, "Well, I understand, nephew." She said, "Well, here's the thing." She says, "My older brother, Leroy, was an excellent swimmer. He liked to swim so much he would bust the ice in the wintertime just to swim. So he knew how to swim." That's the point of that story. He let slip that he was Indian. They hung him, killed him, and threw him in the river. His sister right up under him, she let slip that she was Indian. She was raped. This is what her sister told me. She was raped by grown white men and left for dead in the woods. Now, she lived. There's a picture of her holding me as a baby. I think I was probably about 6 months old. But she never had no children. She probably was damaged on the inside. You see what I'm saying? You take this information, what Dane Calloway did his research on, and you verified, Indian slavery, and you verified, and then you connect that with your family's history. You know what I'm saying? It all correlates. That's why you need to do your own digging. You need to dig into your family past or do some basic research first. And I'll tell you something else. When my uncle said we have Irish and German heritage too, instantly in my mind, I'm thinking, yeah, they did some raping going on during slavery. But I said, you know what? I'm going to dig anyway. Because my father's, my last name is Jackson. So my father's last name is Jackson. So I did some digging on that last name, because I don't have any connection with him as far as, I don't know where he's at. I've been trying to find him so that we could reconnect. I wasn't raised up with him. My parents divorced when I was very young. So anyway, I was digging into the last name Jackson. Come to find out that's a Scott-Irish last name. Upon further digging, I learned that the original Europeans were Aboriginal Black Europeans. Blowed me away. There's in one of my other videos, subscribe to the channel, hit the bell, hit a like, and then go look at some other videos. I ain't gonna get into it in this video, but there's a ship log of prisoners who were held in Europe as prisoners, and they were sent here as indentured servants. They had to fight. I mean, there was, to help the sugar plantations here in the West Indies. The king sent thousands of them here. And I have a ship log from an old book of their names, descriptions, and everything. These people were from Scotland and Ireland, well, mainly Ireland. On that ship's manifest, I found my last name and a whole bunch of other black folks' last name on there. So if you have an Irish last name or a Scott-Irish last name, it's a good chance that those were not your enslaver or European white slave masters. That was probably your relatives, your great-great-great-grandfather or grandmother. Here's why I say that. They had a thing called the head right system. The head right system allowed landowners to contract your family members as indentured servants. You could put your wife down as an indentured servant, and it's a legal document held in the courthouse. You understand what I'm saying? But because now you have an indentured servant or slave, the government would give you 50 free acres of land. This was a way to grow your farm and make your family more money. So a lot of times when you see that your last name, you can't assume that it's a slave master. That was a family member. You get a chance, watch this. You go on YouTube and look up this video. Ellison. Last name Ellison. If I get a chance, I'm going to see if I may add it to this video. William Ellison. I think this is William Ellison. But anyway, this guy owned a large plantation in the South. And he was a particular slimy piece of crap, in my opinion. But he was a black slave owner in the South. And he breeded women for slaves. You understand what I'm saying? So it was always some type of black on black crime going on, because again, the Europeans were both black and white. I don't know if I mentioned that earlier, but I'm mentioning it now is what I'm trying to tell you. But anyway, a whole bunch of thousands and thousands of Irish people were sent here, and these were black people. King James was black. Yeah, the person who commissioned the writing of the New Translation Bible. Y'all on the right channel. Hit the bell, hit the bell, subscribe, and hit all so that you're notified when I go live and make another video. Because again, the lies end. The lies stop now. And it stops with you. Get yourself educated. By me, by yourself. Go listen to Dan Calloway. Go listen to a lot of Curry Mio information. These people, they serious about this research. And then whatever you learn, you double check behind them. And then you do the most important part, which is dig into your own family's heritage. You cannot trust DNA. Don't be giving your DNA to these companies. They're creating biological weapons against black folks. So stop doing it. And it's scientific racism anyway. They cannot tell you who you are based on DNA. The only DNA that's held up in court is from a live person to a live person. Rape kits and paternity tests. We got to stop falling for the okie doke. Even on the DNA kits, it'll say for entertainment purposes only. People, everything is right in your face. You just have not been told how to look at it. You've been misdirected. Look over here. No, don't look over here. Look over here. And it's unfair. But that's how this system of racism, white supremacy get down. That's why you have to be educated on the system. And that's why you must watch Dr. Francis Cress Welson's video that will be in the description of this video. You watch that video before you watch anything else. You understand me? You got your homework assignment, people. So on that note, be one.